The gig is up for the so-called white man. Everyone is tired of his shenanigans. And it's time for this curse to be uprooted from the earth. And this is what we see throughout the four corners of the world. You know, these nations fighting against the so-called white man. The earth itself is fighting against the so-called white man. Everyone is tired of the so-called white man. This is Revelation 6, starting at 7. And when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, "Come and see." And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. So the point being here, because as it said, he is as death, and hell follows him. Wherever the so-called white man goes, he plants his seed of corruption. It's nothing but hell and pure chaos. And being that America is that golden cup that the scriptures talk about in the book of Jeremiah, all these nations have drunk out of this cup. They drunk this wine of Babylon. And this is why we see these nations in shambles. And again, this is why ultimately we see these nations trying to kick the so-called white man out of their countries. They want the so-called white man out. So like I said, ultimately the earth itself is fighting against the so-called white man, because this is the plague of the earth. And this is just another example. What I've got here on screen. Just got this video here by Cash Jordan. I watch a lot of this guy. You know, he does a lot of these videos based off of these protest raids and things of that nature. So here I got, as it says, Mexican rioters forcibly deport Americans as country collapses. So I wonder why. But before getting on with the video, I want to give all praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai. Double honors. Much respects to our apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. May Yahweh Ba'Shem Shai's peace be bestowed unto you, hopefully elect. Fair use. Copyright disclaimer, I'm not making any type of monetary gain off of this video. This is just for informational purposes. So without further ado, we're going to play this video.
Mexican rioters are kicking Americans out of their country. Look at this. This is crazy. This is happening in Mexico City. They are destroying businesses. Look at this. Oh, there's some glass. And they're going in. Oh, man, look at all the people filming. This is crazy. They're telling him to leave the country. This guy's writing to blank a gringo. That's not good. Here they are trying to break into a restaurant that's already got spray paint on it. Look at that. This guy's got a knife. That's terrifying, man. Ripping down the outdoor dining. There's so many people filming it, and there's zero police anywhere. What do you do? No police. What do you do? Now they're attacking some apartments, it looks like. Throwing rocks at them. It's just total anarchy. Ooh. Look at that, they're breaking windows. This happened on Independence Day, too. So it was, I guess, pre-planned that they were going to do this to protest Americans who are in Mexico City. Look at this, man. Oof. No way, man. Yeah. Again, no sirens. Look, these people are hiding on the floor. This is like an attack. Never mind that any of these restaurants are employing people that live in Mexico. Here's more footage of them ripping apart that clothing store. Look, they just totally loot the place in seconds. Absolutely unreal. There's massive crowds. Oh, look, the protest is peaceful now. Oh, thank God, a peaceful protest. I was worried for a second there. I thought this was one of those American protests that turns out not to be peaceful. Look at the sign. Gringo, go back. They do not want American migrants in their country for some reason.
These protesters in Mexico City say cross-border migration is changing their country's capital for the worse.
Well, that's what they're doing.
An influx of mostly American, so-called digital nomads have moved here to work remotely and also enjoy a cheaper cost of living.
Oh.
Protesters say the newcomers have driven up rents beyond the reach of locals.
If they're going to live in a country, they have to contribute to that country. The first and simplest issue issue is legal migration. They come here with visas or no visas, and still the change in purchasing power generates these problems of gentrification and displacement.
So apparently, if you're an American, you can stay in Mexico for up to 180 days with no visa, which is like Mexico having a wide open border.
I'm here because gentrification is just one more step towards colonization, dispossession, and the exploitation of our resources. Right now it's about the people, but it won't be long before they run out of oil, water, or lithium in other countries.
And it goes to show you the wickedness of this devil, man. Listen, the rap sheet when it comes to Esau, the so-called white man, is as the scriptures say, his sins have reached unto his iniquities, man. He's too far gone. You know, here it is in a lot of these beautiful countries where a lot of people go to visit, go on vacation. To show you how much of a devil that this devil is. The devil being the devil. Let's say you want to go to certain places and shit. I mean, I wouldn't know. I've never left the country. But again, that in itself goes to show you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. You're slaves. We're slaves. Being that a lot of us never left the country. Hell, a lot of us barely left the state that we're in. Here it is, the world, make no mistake about it, as polluted as it is under the wicked inhabitants of Esau. Nevertheless, the earth is still beautiful. You know, thankfully, there's a lot of places on the earth that haven't been touched by the so-called white man. But like I said, even under the wicked inhabitants of the so-called white man, the earth is still beautiful, even in this low, decrepit state, in this decayed state that it's in. So just imagine how much more beautified it's going to be when the true powers are set back up in power, set back up in rulership. But it just goes to show you how the devil, being the devil that he is, here it is, he'll come in your country, basically occupy it, monetize it, to the point where even the own people that are native to that land, Esau, he'll cut off certain access to certain parts of these people, their own. He'll cut off certain of that access to these people that are native to that land, and set it up for, again, vacation spots, tourist attractions, which is wicked as all hell. Again, this is why, as I read, everywhere he goes, everywhere he plants his seed, man, it's just he is as death, and hell follows. So this is why it's more and more to the point as we see. It's time for Esau to go. It's time for him to be plucked up. This curse that's plaguing the earth to be plucked up from the earth, because everyone's coming to the common denominator that Esau is the problem. He's the issue. Everyone's coming to the same conclusion.
And come and take them from us.
I don't know about that.
Many Americans in Mexico are able to still receive high salaries in dollars from U.S. companies by working on laptops from their apartments.
Wow.
The government is directing its public policies towards people with higher purchasing power, often illegally displacing local populations who have lived in these neighborhoods for 40, 50, and we have even documented.
I would tell these people to go and protest the Mexican government, but then they'd be protesting a cartel-aligned governance body, and that's not going to work out. So who do they go after?
Cases of up to 60 years. In 5 years, rents have increased by 47%. This is violent for the local population.
And this is why we're going to at some point see sedition here in America. And it will get to the point where, because as I just read in Revelation 6, because I'm going to hold on Job 18, but let me go back to Revelation 6. Six and 8 again. And I looked and behold, a pale horse, talking about the so-called white man, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, talking about here in America, to kill with sword and with hunger and with death and with the beasts of the earth. So Esau, the Lord is just using his ass as the agent of chaos. He's going to stir up strife, contention, or what they call a controlled chaos. And as it's been told over and over, the repetitiousness from the apostles and the elders, man, as far as the order out of chaos. But just making a point, because it will get to the point where, as far as this chaos, it's going to be out of Esau's control, because ultimately he's not in control. So, again, because Esau, is to the point, which goes to show you that he's an unjust leader. He's an unfit king. And this is why, like I said, we're going to see sedition here. And it's going to be the real thing. It's not going to be that whole psyop January 6th. It is going to be the real thing. Because what is Esau doing? He's taking away from his own people. What's bad when, like the scripture say, in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses. Here it is. You have the 2 witnesses, the northern and the southern kingdom, but you have a 3rd witness, which Esau, he's a witness against himself. Esau's tired of himself. Hell, what's bad when Ham is calling you out, cursing you out. And because a lot of the wickedness, because, Esau, man, he's no damn originator. He doesn't come up with anything. All he does, he's a cultural vulture. So even when it comes to the abominations that he pushes, all this shit, most of this shit goes back to Ham. So, Ham is because we often talk about here, man, how, in the kingdom, Ham and Esau, man, they're going to be nowhere near the palaces. They're going to be in the field. Ham is going to be out there, but Esau, he's going to be way the fuck out there. So, just making a point, what's bad when Ham is getting on your ass. Them Hamites, man. What's bad when Esau is cursing you out. Your own people is cursing you out. But what's bad, man, when Ham is cursing you out. Because this is pretty much the same thing that we've seen over the years in Africa, certain parts of Africa, with those Hamites beating Esau, man, telling Esau to get the hell out of Dodge, man. Get out of our nation, get out of our country.
Debating whether to pay for electricity, water, or food. Of course.
Well, if you don't pay for food, that's not going to work out.
Some activists blame Mexico's government for encouraging them. However, there's no simple fix.
The border
Imposing
wall.
tougher visa restrictions on Americans could worsen relations with the U.S. Mexican citizens in the U.S. also send billions of dollars in remittances back to their families in Mexico.
Oh, so the government is afraid to crack down on how Americans might benefit from Mexico, since so many people in Mexico are benefiting from America. Uh-oh, what's going on here? Oh, they're going after this guy. Look at this. It's a riot. Ooh.
This is not your home. This is not your home.
This is not your home, they're saying. Wow.
Get out.
This is not very tolerant. That's not tolerance. This isn't a peaceful protest. How come we're not hearing about anything like this happening?
Get out.
How come the American news isn't telling us about this? Look at this guy with a mask and his shirt off. Oh, his shirt is the mask. Okay. This is wild. Mind you, these businesses employ people who live in these neighborhoods. I've actually got a friend who lives in Mexico City, and he said that these folks that you see protesting are actually a minority. That's what he tells me. That must be the case, or you wouldn't have these businesses. Look, everyone's smiling. That's crazy.
Explosive. Get out.
Oh, they're throwing firecrackers or something in there? Whoa. No thanks, man. Look at this.
These hardworking idiots don't jump.
Look at this guy. He's like, what do I do? My restaurant is being destroyed.
Get out whoever doesn't jump. Get out whoever doesn't jump.
The ironic thing about this is it's almost like having an open border has consequences that people don't find out about until after it changes things in a way that may be irreversible. Look, this guy's got the wrestling mask. Oh my goodness. What's crazy about this is that no police. Oh, Trump. Oh, look who somehow is the reason they're out there rioting and who they don't like. Boy, if they're rioting because of Trump, you know who's really behind this.
Para protestar contra la gentrificación. Los manifestantes destacaron las dificultades
Okay, so they're talking about the gentrification.
el aumento de las rentas y la transformación de los vecindarios.
There's that clothing store again. This place, I don't know if it'll ever open again. Look, after they raided it and looted it, then they threw objects in there. Oh, look at this flamethrower. Yeah, what's absolutely fascinating to me is that this doesn't look like a story that major American news networks want to cover for some reason. I wonder why that is. Probably because these very same people are already in America.
That's right. They've been given the third warning to disperse.
This is July 4th radio. Look at this.
Following this rally, this march that has been peaceful all day long. There's been.
So you get the gist, all right? Again, this video is by Cash Jordan. So if you want to check it out, like I said, he does a lot of videos going into these ICE raids, protests, and things of that nature. But the gig is up for the so-called white man. Everyone's tired of his shit. And like the roach that he is, you know, everyone's trying to scatter his ass, trying to get rid of his ass, trying to roach spray his ass, man. Job 18 and verse Job 18 and 18. He shall be driven from light into darkness and chased out of the world. So you see, and this is something that's been going on. You know, when you go into the history, Esau being chased into the Caucasus Mountains because he's just a goddamn peasant. A goddamn peasant. You know, every time I see a roach or some type of sick animal, it reminds me of Esau. You know, some not sick animal, but some shit that I see that Esau brought over here from over there in Europe, man. You know, when they came over here and came over here to the Americas, Esau, he brought nothing but filth with his ass, roaches and shit. You know, because that's just the devil that he is, just the filth beast man that he is. And this is why, again, he has a track record of being chased out. You know, these nations, they've always had this, hey man, get the hell away from me. Like it tells you in the book of Job, man, hey, I wouldn't even have these peasants around my damn pets, man, my damn dogs, man. You know, keep them away from the animals. That's why, like I said, Esau, he's going to have to be way over there somewhere. In the kingdom, man, he's going to have to be way over there, out there somewhere. Like the roach that he is, man, just over there somewhere. Nowhere near anything. Turning big cliffs into little cliffs, man. Big rocks into little rocks. Do that shit over there. This man is a peasant. And it's time for this devil, man, to be plucked up from the earth. I'm going to go to this in Job chapter 24. And here it is. You got fucking Jake. They love this goddamn hunky, man. They love this peckerwood, man. Can't stand these niggas, man. But that's why they just going to have to die with him. Let me get this in the book of Job 24. God damn. Because the Lord be going in on Esau's ass throughout the scriptures, man. I'm going to read this real quick. Job 24 and 20. The womb shall forget him. The worm shall feed sweetly on him. He shall be no more remembered, and wickedness shall be broken as a tree. So it's like, damn. Because how do you forget, as a mother, how do you forget a child, a baby that comes from the womb? You know, like I said, the Lord will be going in on Esau's ass, but that's going to be his going back to that Job 18, man. Hey, he's going to be at some point, you know, he's going to be forgotten of. You know, he's going to be a thing in the past. He's going to be exterminated at some point. As far as what the Lord does with his spirit, because, you know, spirits don't, because, you know, Esau, he's not going to be burning in hell or anything like that. But as far as what the Lord's going to do with his spirit, well, we'll know when we get to that point. But what we do know is at some point, the Lord, after 1,000 years, man, the Lord's going to exterminate these devils, man, because there's not going to be a use for them. The scripture says, as long as there's a so-called white man, woman, or child around, there's going to be the Lord's indignation is always going to be there. It's just like when you see that coworker, that one coworker that you can't stand, that one coworker that you can't stand. You see his ass or her ass every day, man. You just can't help but just, you know, I can't stand this nigga. You know, just one of those that type of vibe. If you know what I'm saying. You come around a certain smell and it just makes you sick to your stomach. You know, that's how the Lord looks at Esau. As long as there's an Edomite around, hey, the indignation of the Lord is always going to be there. There's always going to be that disdain for Esau, man. So that's why, like I said, or like the scripture said, at some point, eventually he's going to have to be exterminated. But what I wanted to get in this chapter, because this is what we're seeing more and more, the uprooting, the earth fighting against this devil, man. The uprooting of this curse that is plaguing the earth. And this is why we see the earth fighting against this devil. So in this chapter, Job 24, bear with me. I know it's in this chapter. Bear with me. Because I briefly read over this chapter sometime last week. And, you know, when you go into this chapter, man, just to sum it up, all this suffering in the world, just the poor quality of life. People are crying out, as the scriptures say. When the wicked are empowered, the people mourn. So this whole chapter, you know, it's just going into the fact that basically what we see today, just the state of the earth, the poor quality of life, all this is because of Esau, man. So that's why I want to get this here in Job 24 and verse 18. Matter of fact, let's start at 17. For the morning is to them even as the shadow of death. If one of them know they are in terrors of the shadow of death, if one know them, they are in the terrors of the shadow of death. Verse 18. He is swift as the waters. Their portion is cursed in the earth. He beholdeth not the way of the vineyard. So you see, man, like I said, he's an unjust king, unfit ruler. All right, he is that curse. He is the curse of the earth that needs to be plucked up, man. And what's the solution to this cancer that's plaguing everything and everyone is Esau, the so-called white man. And we are seeing the downfall of this devil, man. And, you know, it's a beautiful thing to be a witness to. Call Halayim Yahweh Bashmal Shai. But this is what we're seeing. Everyone's tired of his shit. The gig is up. Everyone is looking at this man for who he is. He's not Homelander or Salaki. He's not Superman. Coming to find out this man is Homelander. He's he's fronted for so long, but hey, the cat is out the bag. And everyone's tired of this. Everyone's tired of this devil. So it's time for him to go. And ultimately, Yahweh Shai is going to be the one to get rid of his ass. But call Allah Yahweh Bashmal Shai, Lord, one of those edifying. Shalom to you, hopefully elect.